Proximity requirement. Hey, come take a look at this one. I obediently roll my office chair across the reading room. What do you see? I don't need to squint my eyes to see this one. His spine is snapped in two. And what do we call this? A dislocation? A fracture. Dislocation. There's a pause. But what I thought was really interesting about this case is that you can see here. A spinning mouse wheel settles on a thin slice through black and white viscera. A pancreatic laceration. We don't see these very often. Is he going to be paralyzed by an injury like this? Yes, he'll probably lose his spleen and pancreas too. I expected to feel sorrow, sympathy, or even shock. Nothing. Just a morbid curiosity at these two stacked vertebrae smashed into each other like two trains in a head-on collision. The owner of said injury was somewhere upstairs, maybe even directly over my head. But I just couldn't force myself to feel sympathy for a CT scan. Do I cry for this man with the broken back, even though we'll never meet? Do I cry for the woman in California with the same injury, even though we'll never meet? Do I cry for the man with cellulitis in my textbook, even though we'll never meet? Do I cry for the bones of smallpox victims buried deep under the soil hundreds of miles away, even though we'll never meet? Maybe sympathy has a proximity requirement. If it isn't in the same room, perhaps it doesn't matter how far the suffering is. The compassion won't come. I hear my attending dictate his note for the man with the snapped spine. African-American man comes in by EMS after a collision. He mumbles on. Race does not show up on a CT scan, or an X-ray, or in any radiologic scan. But racism does not have a proximity requirement. So, are you ready for the next case? If not sympathy, then one last moment to pay homage to the victim upstairs. 1 second, 2 seconds, then yes.